Welcome to today's eLotus webinar, your leading source for acupuncture continuing education. I'm your host, Donna Chow. Today's webinar is Lunar Alchemy, Enhancing Acupuncture with Moon Cycles, sponsored by Evergreen Herbs and presented by Dr. Michelle Hamilton. Class will be from 9 to 1 p.m. Pacific time, and we will have one break. Before we get started, let's ensure an interactive session by setting your chat preference to everyone. For our instructor questions, please use the Q&A box. Our instructor, Michelle Hamilton, is a seasoned licensed acupuncturist, educator, and coach, boasting over 2 decades of experience in the wellness industry with a dedicated focus on acupuncture for the past 13 years. Beyond her clinical practice, Dr. Hamilton is the visionary behind Lunar Acupuncture, a groundbreaking approach aligning with the lunar cycle for enhanced treatment outcomes. Something she will share with us today, so let's go ahead and welcome Dr. Hamilton and dive into the session.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. And thank you to eLotus and the whole team there for having me. Hi. Thank you to everybody for signing up for this course and choosing to participate in something new and exciting and fresh. I appreciate you. Thank you for your time. I know all of our time is valuable. We make our money off of our time and our time is limited. So I appreciate you spending your time with me today. So a little bit of background work, or I guess framework is the word I'm looking for. So we're going to take one break today. We do have a lengthy class. It's 4 hours. So we're going to go 9 to 1. I'm planning on taking just one break. I may take one maybe 5-minute break in case I have to go to the bathroom or something like that. I usually don't teach this long of a course, so I don't know how I'm going to do. I'm a provider first, so I treat patients all day, and I usually get to go to the bathroom and drink water. So we'll see how I do over these long stretches. But I plan on taking one 15-minute break at about an hour and a half in, and we'll plan on being here from 9 to 1. If you guys want to go ahead and just say hi in the chat, feel free to do that. Maybe say where you're from. I love seeing the variety of locations, and I love connecting with you all. We've got a big group today. Oh, hey, from California, San Francisco, England. Kauai. Good morning, Santa Monica. Woo, that's where I went to school. Okay, Seal Beach. We got a lot of people here today. That's so cool. I love the live stuff. I do a lot of pre-recorded courses, and I mean those are great because it's a little less pressure, I guess, but it is great to see you all here now. I love it. Hawaii, jealous. Okay, California, can't be that. I'm in San Luis Obispo, California. It's halfway, we describe it as halfway between LA and San Francisco. Not LA and not the Bay is how we say it. It's a college town. It's called Cal Poly, is the school in town. I went to Emperor's. Yeah. So that's my connection to Santa Monica. Yeah. We got Chicago. Oh, Megan Whitney went to Emperor's too. Cool. Okay. Yosan. Yep. That's right down the street. I have a colleague that went there. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and share. Oh, and then as far as questions go ahead and just put them in the chat. I find it really distracting when I'm in my flow and presenting my information. I'll get injected with a question and then I'll read it and then I'll get off track. So I do want to answer your questions. I'll probably get some time at the end and I'll scroll through the chat and get to questions that I can answer then. So I don't want you to feel like I'm ignoring you, but I'm really just trying to keep the flow going because I have a lot of slides to go through and information, and I just want to keep on task, but I want to feel connected to you at the same time. So this is balance, right? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, which is always, an adventure in and of itself. Okay, we're sharing, we're presenting. Cool. Okay. So who here like knows anything about astrology? You can go ahead and write in the chat. Like scale 1 to 10. 10, you're like an expert, you know everything about astrology. You're an astrology guru. You should probably be teaching this course. To like 0, don't know anything. That's why you're here. Let's just start there. Just curious. I love the zeros. Like, I'm here to learn. Cool. Some 5s, some 2s, some 3s, 4s, 1s. Love astrology. 7. I love you, Megan. Emperor's grad. Awesome. Well-versed in cycles. Okay, you can teach me something, Emma Jean. Okay, cool. I love it. Well, obviously you're here, so you're interested in this. It's intriguing, right? More so the moon cycles, Julie. Okay. As above, so relates to the stars and Earth, Jan. Yes. Yes. Okay. I mean, obviously, if you signed up for this course, you're resonating with what I'm putting down here, right? So you see that there's a connection. I'm going to go into this later, and that's one of the key principles of Chinese medicine, right? Is that we're connected to our environment, to seasons, right? And we learn this a lot in school, right? That we're very connected to the seasons and to nature. But in my training, and I don't know about your training, but I can speak for, the specific years that I went to Emperor's College, there wasn't a whole lot of talk about astrology or the moon cycles and TCM. And we'll get more into that later. Okay. But that's cool. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're intrigued because I want to start this conversation because I find it really fascinating. So Lunar Acupuncture, welcome. Elevate your treatments, manifest your dreams. This is who I am. Hi, I'm Dr. Michelle Hamilton. I'm a doctor of Chinese medicine. I'm an acupuncturist. I started a clinic called Zenden. It's a hybrid community acupuncture clinic and healing center in, we call it SLO, but it's San Luis Obispo, California. I've been in practice for 14 years, which is easy to remember because I actually, the day I gave birth, well, actually it was the day I gave birth. I'm holding my newborn. I'm like doing my walk out to the mailbox because I had taken state boards when I was like 36 weeks pregnant, which is like a whole other story. But so I took my state board exam. I came home, I gave birth, not like the same day or anything, like a month later. And I had my newborn daughter. I walk out to the mailbox. I open the mailbox and like in there, I think like if you passed, it was like a yellow piece of paper or something like that. I remember like you wanted to see a certain color. I remember I opened it and I had like the yellow piece of paper. So it was like I had a newborn baby and I had that piece of paper that I passed the state boards. And it was such a defining moment because it started this whole new chapter of my life of like motherhood and being a practitioner of Chinese medicine. And I just love both. And I love that I get to do both. I later had a son as well. So I have 2 kids. My daughter's 14, so that's easy to remember. That was the year I started my practice, the year I had my daughter, and then my son is 11. Let's see, I've been practicing. So I have a hybrid clinic, which I didn't start out that way, and I'll get into that later. But I kind of evolved my practice into the hybrid model. I started as a one-on-one practitioner, and I'll get into that journey because it weaves into my story of how I got into lunar acupuncture as well. Like our clinical practice, it's a journey and it doesn't always make sense sometimes until you look back retrospectively and you're like, oh, I can see how I got here, looking at the journey that I just did. Each step builds on the one before. And when we start our practice, like looking back, I was like, I'm going to focus on infertility and I want to treat babies. And because that's where I was in my life. I was very much like into having babies and helping other people have babies. And you evolve and grow and your practice evolves and grows and changes with you and your needs change and your practice changes with you. And your practice is a mirror of where you're at as well. So it's been cool to watch that evolution. Um, okay. So let's see. Other things. Oh, I was voted #1 acupuncturist in SLO County the last 3 years. Let's hope I get it this next year. Yeah, which was cool. You know, you don't win very many awards as an acupuncturist, you know? Like you get good feedback every once in a while from patients like, "Hey, my back feels better." You're like, "Great." So it's really cool. In our town, we have like a best of SLO awards every year where the whole community comes out and they vote on like the best dentist, the best acupuncturist, the best CPA, all of the professionals in town, and everybody votes. And we didn't have a category, we didn't have an acupuncturist category for years. And so I never even paid attention to it. And in 2021, out of nowhere, they came up with an acupuncturist category and I was surprised and I won. So, and I've won every year since. And now it's at the point, like the year that I don't win, I'm gonna freak out and it's not gonna be pretty. So you'll find me at like some dive bar the year that that happens. So yeah, so that's cool. I define myself now as an educator, a coach, and a CEU provider. I have some online courses that I teach about community acupuncture, about lunar acupuncture. I also like to coach and teach about marketing and all things practice management and the style of acupuncture that I do. My background personally or athletic, I have an extensive athletic background. I played basketball in high school and college. And then after that, I ran I was a competitive distance runner, mainly the marathon distance because I have like childhood trauma or something. And um, I ended up winning a couple marathons. I did Boston Marathon, and then that wasn't enough, so I went on and I started doing ultras. And I ran a couple 100-mile races, and I was lucky enough to I think the best I did at that distance I got like second place, and completed that. So that's a crazy experience. That's another story, but I completed that in like 23 hours and 50 minutes, and you don't stop. Like you run the whole time. Like it's crazy. Now I've kind of transitioned and I'm more into like fitness competitions due to an unfortunate toe injury, which is a whole other story. So, so that's kind of me. I'm a mom. I've got 2 kids. I'm a single mom, so I kind of like balance it all and not very well most days. I'm just doing my best, like all of you. But that's who I am. I want to tell you a little bit about where we're going, where I'm going to take you today. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about how lunar acupuncture kind of fell into my lap. I was not born an astrologer. My parents are definitely not astrologers. I was born into a Mormon family of 6 kids, like very conservative. So this is something that kind of coagulated and percolated and I've developed over the years. We're going to talk about the history of moon magic. I want to go into the 8 phases of the moon. And then I want to talk about some of the energetics of the full moon and the new moon. And we're going to talk about some tools that you can use around those specific phases. Like I said, there's 8 phases of the moon, and those are different cycles that you can focus on. You can focus on different points, different crystals, different essential oils. That gets like really in depth, but I just really want to focus on like the 2 power points or 2 power phases, which I feel like is full moon and new moon. Okay. I also want to talk about the different phases of the zodiac, the different zodiac signs that the moon moves through that kind of give a little seasoning of each moon phase that are fun to work with in clinic and with your patients. And I feel like I'd be giving you a big disservice if I didn't talk a little bit about how to manifest with working with the lunar cycle and how to lead a moon circle. Those are some of the things that I work with as well that I've been working with the last couple of years that have been really powerful as a tool in my clinic, as a businesswoman particularly. And I really want to share those with you guys as well, because it's been really helpful for me in my life and in my clinic and in my business. So I wanted to share that with you as well. So, all right. So this is obviously a more recent picture, but I wanted to share how I got into this, how I got into acupuncture. Everybody has their story, and it seems like most people, they experience some kind of miraculous healing, and then they had an injury, they got acupuncture, they got healed, and then they started down this path, right? And I was always kind of jealous, like that didn't happen to me, because patients always ask, like, how did you get into this, right? And like, um, the truth is, like, my story's kind of cool too, and it is kind of a healing. So I started out as a massage therapist, like a lot of acupuncturists do, I think, as I found out. And I kind of fell into massage school because I was, like in between semesters, and I took some time off traveling. I was a little lost. I was in college and I was studying literature and not that into it, and kind of just picked the broadest topic because I didn't know what to do. And I had some time in between quarters, and my mom was like, you know what, why don't you just go to massage school? So I go to massage school just for fun. And while I was there, they kind of taught us all sorts of things, all sorts of energy, medicine healing techniques like reflexology, I don't know, like essential oils, all sorts of things. And I remember they taught us a little bit about shiatsu and about the meridians. And I remember the day they pulled out the meridian chart, and I saw the body and I saw all the meridians. And I remember looking at it and just like recognizing it, like the way that some people talk about recognizing like their soulmate or something like that. And that was how it felt. Like I've never had that. It's kind of sad. I've never had that experience with another person, but I've had that experience with my career, and I feel so blessed that I was able to experience that, and I do consider that really healing and a way of like coming home to myself. And that experience happened when I was 19 or 20, and the same way like that maybe happens with a person, like you meet a soulmate and that happens, and then you're like, oh no, they live in France, like how are you going to make this work? It was kind of the same thing for me. It was like, oh no, I'm in love with acupuncture and it's a weird thing, like this is 20 years ago, like that's not even a real job, like how am I going to tell my parents? And then I worked it out and I just followed my heart on it. So that's kind of how I discovered TCM or acupuncture. I ended up finishing college, and like it was kind of like I was in this other relationship, but I was like pining for this other person the whole time. And my heart was just set on going to acupuncture school. I just wanted to get done with school so I could just go to acupuncture school. So it was like the second I got out of college, I just immediately went to acupuncture school. And it was really challenging for me. Like I thought it would be a lot like massage school, and it was not. It was challenging. Granted, I just got out of a liberal arts program, and it was very, hello, organic chemistry, hello, pathophysiology. I was like, "Rrr." But I wanted to quit a lot, and I had a lot of great teachers that really supported me, and they'd pull me aside and be like, no, like you're going to do this, and I'm like indebted to them forever. So that's kind of how I got into it. And then I started my practice, and I started treating like one-on-one, like we're taught in school, right? One patient an hour, acupuncture cupping, la-di-da. I was in a wellness clinic. I rented one room, I had a baby. It was perfect because it was like low pressure. I didn't have to have a big overhead. They had a front desk. It was great. And then I could kind of slowly grow, as my daughter was like older, I could add more days. And then as she was in preschool, I could add another room. So then I had two rooms, and then it got to the point where I had two kids and they were in preschool or whatever. And I had three rooms, and they were all like buzzing. They were all going, and everything was booked. I was like booked 2 weeks out, and it was kind of like, okay, like I've reached the pinnacle of success, and this is like what we're taught is it. And I was not feeling really fulfilled because I was treating like the same people week after week, and it was kind of like their wellness visit, and like I wasn't treating what I thought I was going to be treating. I thought I was going to be treating people that wanted to come get treated, get better, and move on. And then I also wasn't treating like my people. Like I wasn't treating the people that most people couldn't afford me, is what I was saying. And usually the strategy is like, oh, if you're booked out 2 weeks, then raise your prices. And it's like, well, that doesn't feel right. Then I'm less accessible to people that actually need me. And there's a lot of things that could be treated really easily. Like I'd run into a friend, and let's say she had tendonitis, and I was like, well, that I could treat that really easy, and maybe 6 visits, it would go away, but like it would probably cost like $2,500. And she's like, well, I don't have that to spend on my elbow. Like I'm a stay-at-home mom, you know? So it just wasn't, I was feeling really conflicted. Okay. So what I did is like, I'm a like revolutionary shake-up tortured person. Is I decided, okay, I'm going to do something about this. So I'm going to buy a bunch of recliners on Amazon. That's the day the recliners came. Look at how happy I am. I came up with a solution. And at the clinic that I was at, we have, this is a breezeway. This is outside. So I was like, I'm going to put these outside. That's me literally sweeping the ground and deciding to put these outside. Like that's the day up. I'm so glad I captured this because you can literally see the WTF look in my face. I'm like, what am I doing? And I just opened up a lunch hour and I did cash only. And I created at the time a Facebook event and walk-ins only, like no appointments. I'm just gonna do community acupuncture. I don't really know how to do community, I'm gonna figure it out, kind of a thing. And people showed up. There's all the people showing up. It was cold and people still showed up, and I just started treating a ton of people outside. And it got to the point, I don't know why that e-lotus is there. It got to the point where I needed more space, and it started to justify that this was a thing and I needed to go rent a space. Because the people I was renting from, they were so generous. They let me use that space, but they were kind of like, you're taking over like our wellness center. And I was like, you're right, you know. So that's my daughter. So I went out and I found this basement space, and we built that out with the IKEA furniture. We were so proud. We we built all that furniture. And so this is a second space. So I kept my other like one-on-one practice going because hello, I have these 2 kids and I like that's my bread and butter. And this was my crazy midlife crisis idea. So we had to like keep both going. So I had like 10 hours a week where I was doing this little basement clinic. And then the rest of the time I was doing my one-on-one. And then the rest of the time I was screaming into a towel because it was a lot, as you can imagine. But this was received really well and people loved it and the community showed up. So what did I do? I created one space and merged them into one. And I created the clinic that I have now, which is called the Zen Den. And that was a lengthy story, but I think it's important because it gives the backstory of kind of how I created these methods. I didn't create them out of thin air. I created them out of a lot of data because I've been treating this way. I've been practicing for 14 years, but I've been, let's see, 18, 19, 20. For the last 6 years, I've been treating community style, and I've been seeing close to 100 to 150 patients a week. Okay. That's a lot. That's a lot of patients. And my takeaway is this: if you want to get good at acupuncture, if you want to get good at anything, like practice it, right? Isn't that how it goes? And how are you going to get good at anything or formulate any new techniques or new skills by treating 4 people a day, 5 people a day, even 8 people a day, right? You're not really going to get anywhere. You're not going to take any risks clinically. You're not going to get feedback. You may treat somebody and you'll see them in a week and you'll be like, so how'd you do after last treatment? And they'll be like, oh gosh, I don't know. You know, with community acupuncture, you're like, I'm going to treat you today. I want you to come back tomorrow. They'll come back tomorrow and they'll say, okay, this is what happened. And you'll say, okay, all right, okay. You get immediate feedback, right? And like I said earlier, I'll take risks, you know, I'll be like, all right, let's try something crazy that I read in a book and I hope it works. Or let's try this lunar acupuncture method that I'm kind of been playing around with, right? Because you can't help it, but in the back of your mind, you're like, well, you know, they're paying 25 bucks. So, you know, like there's less pressure, right? So, I mean, is that bad or good? I don't know. You can be the judge on that, but it does allow you to become a better provider. Um, and I know, you know, one of my teachers, what's his name? Brad, starts with a W, you know what I mean? But he went to a third world country and he did the same thing. He treated mass amounts of patients, I think, for free, right? And that's how he became such so clinically well seasoned, I guess. So it's something to consider. If you want to be really good at what you do, you know, you need quantity of experience, right? So in treating all of these people, I started to see trends, okay? Trends that I just like could not deny. And at this time, I was not into astrology at all. Like I would read my horoscope in the newspaper and be like, oh, okay, interesting, whatever, you know, but it seemed so complicated and abstract and also very like, yeah, that could apply to anybody, right? Um, and so I started to see these trends where I'd see like 8 people come in with elbow pain, right? And I'm sure you guys even see this in your practice now, right? Or even like, what was it, last month? I saw, or even, I think it was 2 weeks ago, I saw like 4 people with left temple headache, right? What the heck? What's going on, right? Um, and so at the time, I had a front desk girl or front desk manager that was an astrologer. And so I started to get to talk to her and I'd be like, what is up? Like, I've had 4 people with left temple headaches. And she'd be like, oh, well, that makes sense considering what's going on astrologically, right? And it would even correlate to things emotionally or even like relationship things that are going on. I was like, that's my third breakup today. Like, what's going on? And she would explain it astrologically. So it got to the point where I would come in and at the start of the day, I'd be like, okay, like it would be like State of the Union. Tell me what's going on. And then maybe I can start to proactively start thinking of points that can harmonize the energy that is happening astrologically. Okay. So I started to think that way and started to select points that way. So that way I was prepared for what was going to come in my doors. Okay. The other thing that I started to notice is that patients' anxiety and emotions would increase around a full moon. And I don't know if you guys have noticed this as well. You can share in the chat, as well as sleep disturbances. And I've talked to other healthcare providers as well, who worked in like the ER. They've noticed an uptick in hospital visits. It's like common knowledge. Like, yeah, we see more babies are born during full moons. My dad is a dentist and he says that he gets more emergency phone calls for toothaches around the full moons. And that's just common knowledge, you know? I mean, it makes sense considering how much of our bodies are water, the full moon, and the gravitational pull, right? And then emotions, and with the gravitational pull, it brings everything up to the surface, right? So these are things that I started to notice. Okay, so then you also need to take a look at the, what does that see? Some of the key aspects of TCM, right? Is that, I just want this out of here. Is that your body is an integrated whole. You were born with an ability to heal. Prevention is the best cure. And that you are completely connected to nature. So here's what I was seeing was an uptick of the body's signals, symptoms, particularly during a full moon, and that astrological shifts were reflected in the body just the same way that the seasons are reflected in the body, locations, like where our environments are reflected in the body. Astrological shifts are no different. Our bodies are a microsystem of astrological bodies as well. Okay. And we also have an interconnectedness to each other and our environment. So it's interesting as well to see just how we are unique expressions of this of an across the board astrological event that is happening. Okay. So we could have we're gonna have a full moon in Leo later this week on the 25th, I believe. Yeah, on Thursday. So full moon in Leo is about illuminating or uncovering. It's a lot of heart energy. Whatever is blocking us from shining, right? From our true greatness. Leo is about like our time to shine, right? So the full moon comes in and illuminates whatever it is that is blocking us from that. Okay. So everyone is going to have a unique expression of whatever that is. So for this person, it might be shame. For another person, it might be fear. For another person, it might be lack of will, another person might be grief. So I could have 5 patients coming in, all experiencing different emotions and all experiencing, I'd be selecting different points, right? But the theme is the same, right? It's all blocking them from exposing their greatness and sharing their gifts with the world, right? So, and it's great because it is a form of preventative medicine in a way, if you go into the session knowing these are the themes that are coming through, if that makes sense. And I'll go into point selection more and like how to apply this. That's the thing about astrology. It's so abstract, and TCM is so poetic and abstract. It's like, okay, and then how do you funnel that into the point, And the beauty of it is it's like there are no right answers, right? Like it's like having 8 different paints and a canvas. It's like you tell like what is the right combination of colors, right? It's good to know the fundamentals, but ultimately you're the artist and it's your intuition and what you know with the facts at hand, like how you apply it, right? And that's my hope to you is like you take what you learned today and you start to feel it and channel it and work with it with your patients. And I mean, it's an art, and it's an expression. Okay. So we covered that. So yeah, I mean, when I was like exploring all this, I was like, where's the class on this? And I would dig around because I do a lot of community events like sound baths and acupuncture, yoga stuff, and like retreats where I treat big groups of people. And I'm like, oh, it'd be rad to do something on the full moon. And I'd look up and there'd be tons written about the full moon. I was like, okay, so like what points do I pick? And you Google, like someone has someone is like have to have written a blog on this, and it's just like nothing. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm the gal. So I started like, okay, let's start figuring this out, and I started to figure out, there's 12 zodiac signs, there's 12 primary meridians. Where do these line up here? And it's fitting together. And then you're like, okay, so what points do we pick here? Right. And then you start to really create a system and you start to use the system, you start to write it down. And that's what I've created here. And I love it. And I find in working this way with this framework, patients love it. They love talking about astrology because that is something that is more common ground, I feel like, in the Western world than TCM. It's easier for them to talk about and to understand. It also allows them to have more personal responsibility and accountability. I feel like astrology has a way of presenting, okay, this is what you can choose to work on to evolve and grow right now or not, And yeah, I can select some points that can facilitate that, but ultimately, like, this is your work, right? And I feel like we're at a time and a place where like our medicine needs to evolve and it needs to grow. I love how old it is, but like our culture is like we're in pain and we're really hurting and we need a lot of help right now. And we need a lot of spiritual help, specifically. Um, like organized religion is on the decline, which depending on your beliefs may or may not be a good thing. But regardless, there's an opening there and there's a need. People are looking for spiritual guidance and support, and they're looking to healers for that. Like we're not technicians anymore. Where I think that's traditionally what acupuncture was more of a technical thing, like mind, body, spirit, right? Like spirit is part of that. And people, the way things are changing rapidly now, like they need more than support for their back pain. There's a lot more going on. People need places to regulate their nervous system. They need places to process trauma. So I feel like there's a big need for this right now. That's what I believe. Um, okay, so where's the class on this? It's right here. So glad you found me. Okay. So what is lunar acupuncture? Like, what the heck is this, right? So lunar acupuncture, as I define it, is the practice of selecting points, oils, crystals, and other healing practices based on the position and energetics of the moon. And I wouldn't just, I mean, this is an old slide. I wouldn't limit it to the moon. I would expand that to any astrological body, really, planet, star. Utilizing these practices results in amplified treatment outcomes and the ability to manifest with ease. I started with just lunar acupuncture with just the moon because I feel like it's an easy, tangible thing to start with, to understand. Because we can see the moon, right? We can be like, look, it's full. Look, it's gone. It's a new moon, right? And I feel like we all feel more connected to the moon, maybe because we can see it, right? And you just cannot deny the powerful presence of the moon, right? It controls the tides. It's there, it illuminates the earth. So it's just a good place to start. It's got 28 days. It's connected to our menstrual cycles. It feels like it has the strongest influence on our bodies. Okay, so lunar acupuncture has multiple applications. Self-care, ritual work, which is like moon circles, moon ceremonies, manifesting work, acupuncture treatments, and that can be with needles or acupressure or oiling points and other holistic healing modalities like sound baths or yoga, things like that. Okay, what are the benefits of working with the moon and astrology in your practice? Oh, do you like my cup? I didn't even realize that. I have my other cup here, which like, this is controversy. Have you guys heard about these? These Stanley cups? They're like all the rage now. But this is my daughter's. She really wanted one for Christmas. I'm going to tell a little personal story to like lighten the mood here. She really wanted one for Christmas and they were like all sold out. I don't understand why. Like I think on TikTok they got popular or something. She really wanted one, had to have one. So her dad, like spoiler, bought her one. And I asked her, I'm like, how's it going with your... No, actually, let me tell you what happened. My birthday is December 2nd. So she bought me a little Stanley cup. She had her dad buy me one for my birthday. She bought me one. And I was like, oh, I didn't even know what a Stanley Cup is. I thought it was like, isn't that like a race or something? Isn't that like a trophy or something? I don't know. So I was like, thanks. It was like a little one. I'm like, cool. I have a million water balls, but whatever. And I put it in my cupboard. Kid you not, like 2 days later, it's gone. Like oh, it's right here. This one. I got them all over the place. She took it to school. Like she's all cool because like it's a TikTok thing or a cool girl thing. I was like, "Where's my Stanley Cup?" She's like, "Oh yeah, I borrowed it." I was like, like you give someone a birthday gift and then you take it immediately, like sociopath. Then for Christmas, she has to have like this is the cool one apparently. So she got it. And then like a week later, I asked her like, "How's it going with your Stanley Cup?" And she's too embarrassed to use it at school because she says it's like too basic. Like they make fun of her for drinking from it. This is ridiculous. She's in junior high. So she says she puts it in her backpack like this and like drinks it like secretly like that. So she didn't even bring it today. She didn't bring it today. And when I was prepping for class, I was like, oh, this is 4 hours. I'm gonna need this for sure. And I forgot I already had this one. So and then I've got my cup of tea, my Sagittarius, which is my sign, by the way, fire sign. So I was like, gosh, to be like in junior high again, what a tortured existence. Can you imagine having to drink water like out of your backpack? Like that's like a trauma state all the time. That's worse than like living in a war zone. Like, gosh, horrible. So anyways, that's the Stanley Cup story. So anyways, I'm just gonna weave those in there because we got a lot of time together, you guys. Okay. Benefits of working with the moon and astrology in your practice. So this is great. Develop patience and appreciation for the divine timing of the universe. So this is good for me because I tend to be impatient. And when I started working with the moon, I started to be like, oh, everything has a season, like especially like new moon time is time to plant seeds, set goals, right? And then like start to move, right? And then full moon is about forgiveness and releasing. I'm the type of person that I feel like is doing everything at the same time. It's like I'm journaling and I'm setting goals and I'm like manifesting and I'm going for and I'm like no, like it brought me into the realization that like there's a time to do this and there's a time to do this. And in doing that, it taught me to work with the energy, right? Like, don't force it. Like, if you're working with the energy, you don't have to work as hard. And that is very feminine. And I feel like something that was really missing for me, because I feel like my truest nature is feminine. And I've spent most of my life in my masculine trying to get stuff done and really depleting my yin, really, and my chi, right? I mean, running all these marathons and doing 100-mile races. I mean, the end of all of that, I was left severely depleted, blood deficient, chi deficient, yin deficient, right? And it kind of left me a little broken and trying to look for a new way of doing things differently, more connected to the divine, more connected to nature, more connected to the natural flow. And opening myself up to the idea that I didn't have to work that hard, right? And maybe that I was just good enough and maybe it was more about opening up to receive and less about putting my head down and working so hard, right? Working with astrology also shows us how we are all individuals, yet part of the same whole. That was always a really hard concept for me to understand, that we're all interconnected. And it really wasn't until I started treating community style that I got that we're kind of all the same thing. We're all different notes of the same thing. And astrology is a great way of showing that as well. We're different expressions of what is happening in the cosmos. It also empowers patients to take a new approach, to have a new perspective to life, to reframe things like you're not a victim of what's happening to you. Like this is an opportunity to maybe clear something out that isn't serving you, to release something so that you can bring something in. right? Or maybe this is challenging you so that you can grow in a new way, right? It allows you a framework for goal setting and manifesting in your business and your life. I kind of touched on this earlier. This has been really powerful for me. Like if you would have told me this 10 years ago, I'm like, what are you talking about? Like working with the moon to manifest. But uh, I have stories about this that would blow your mind. Like I had a couple moon circles with my kids. If you have kids, doing a moon circle to manifest is the most powerful thing you can possibly do because the kids are magic and their ability to manifest is amazing because it's all about biology of belief. Like whatever you believe is going to happen is likely going to happen. And kids believe in Santa, right? So like their ability to believe is so powerful. So if you can kind of hitch your wagon to that and like join in and create that magnetic field together, like the things that we've been able to attract to us have been like it makes me want to cry. It's been remarkable. Like this house we manifested. That's a crazy story. I'll probably share that later today. Like the man that I brought into my life, amazing story. It also utilizes the power of intention, which is also very powerful. Wherever you place your intention, that's where energy will flow. So great story. Like when I was in acupuncture school, like my last day, I think, like I was with one of my supervisors at Emperor's and she's like, how's it going? I was like, I'm about to graduate and like, I'm not so sure I really know what I'm doing. And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I don't really like, I'm gonna take the test and I'll probably like, I think I'll pass, but like practicing, I don't really know. I'm not confident I know how to treat people. Let's be real here. And she was like, "Oh, don't worry about it. It's really about your intention. The points don't really matter." And I was like, "What?" Like I just spent like $150,000 to learn these points, and you're telling me like I could have just focused my intention, you know? It's pretty funny. But it is true. I mean, I think you need the you need the, you need the foundations, you need the fundamentals, right? But you need that to draw from. But your intention is really valuable. And it comes back down to your belief as well. Whatever you believe will happen is what's going to happen. And practice with intention. I play around with it all the time. Like I'll say, I'm going to go into this meeting and my intention is that we walk away from it friends. Whatever wow, sounds like a brutal meeting. I'm going to go into this coffee shop and my intention is that I'm going to make 2 new contacts that are going to be potential patients, whatever. So be intentional about everything in your life. You know, I'm going to go into this workout and my intention is to crush it, you know, whatever it is. And you should do that with your treatments. I'll do that with my patients. You know, I'll say, okay, our intentions with this treatment is we're going to calm your nervous system. We're going to build up your chi in your blood. And when you get you feeling better, you're going to walk out of here feeling great. Okay. Right there. Because then they're like, yeah, we're on board. Right. You want to get them on board too. You want them to be setting the intention. It's a two-way street, right? You're not healing them. We're doing this together. And you need to remind them of that. Right. It promotes rest and action. So that polarity of rest and action. Okay. Okay. So put it all together. So then I started, you know, testing some of this stuff, right? So created some theories about what I wanted to do around the moon cycles. And then, like I said, I treat big groups, right? So I've got 8 or 10 recliners, depending on the day, in my community clinic. So I'm treating there. And I start playing around with the lunar cycle, mainly full moon, new moon, full moon, new moon. And then I also, mainly where I've been using is I do like sound bath events, which are awesome. I'm going to teach some classes on that soon, where I needle everybody. I give everyone the same treatment because there's no time to do intakes. And I'll typically do like a full moon treatment or a new moon treatment. And then I have this wonderful couple come in and they do a sound bath for like 50 minutes and they lay there with their needles in and people love it. We've been doing it for like 4 or 5 years. It's a huge hit in this town. So I'll do that. So I started to just, it was great for stuff like that where I couldn't do an intake, and before that I was like 4 gates, 4 doors, like I don't yin tong, like you just do really boring treatments that just felt like, okay, like a robot. And this felt like, cool, I'm doing something that's actually interactive with the environment or with what's going on that will relate to their body and to astrology and will impact them in a better way. And I was getting not better feedback, but I was getting good feedback where people were saying like, oh, that was really powerful. And I would talk about it. People would want to know, like, what points are you using? And it was more powerful to talk about than like 4 gates, 4 doors, right? I'm like, they move stagnant energy in the body, and yin tong calms the shen, Whereas I could say, this treatment is for a full moon in Leo. I'm doing points on the heart channel, which go deep into your heart to illuminate things that are blocking you from, shining your true self. And I'm also doing some points to ground because energy tends to go up to the head around a full moon. Like those are things that people can grab onto and get excited about. And they're things that change every month, right? So it was kind of like a new flavor, and it kind of kept people coming back and excited, like, oh, what is she gonna do this time, instead of like doing the same thing every time. And this is something that I talk about. I have an online course that I teach, Lunar Acupuncture, where it's module based, it's all pre-recorded. You can lead yourself through it. I'll talk about it later, but I take people through the year and I share points, and I do like live recordings and full moon circles and things like that. And I'll share more about that later, where I kind of take you through the year and kind of share what points are appropriate based on the new moon and full moon. So we can talk more about that later, but it's a really cool group, really cool community that I'm building there. Okay, so I want to go into a little bit about like moonology a little bit, backtrack a little bit. So mysticism and all of that. So mysticism is just a spiritual practice that involves seeking a direct experience of the divine or ultimate reality beyond the physical world. Mystics often pursue a state of an altered consciousness through meditation, prayer, or other contemplative practices. Examples of this would be a moon ritual or ceremony. So in 1972, this is what I touched on earlier about spirituality. Let me drink some tea. Hold on. 92% of Americans said that they were Christian. But by 2070, I wonder if I'll live to see that day, the number will drop to below 50%. And the number of religiously unaffiliated Americans, or nuns, not a nun, nuns, key O there, will probably outnumber those adhering to Christianity. So organized religion is just on the decline. And especially where I live, like I live in California, no one goes to church anymore here. Like maybe it's just I have no social circle, like, but for the people that I talk to, like, it's just different than it used to be, right? And there's a lot of different reasons for that. I think, organized religion it just tends to just go south, as with lots of things like cults and even like Bikram yoga, right? It tends to, like, one person gets power and then it just goes bad. But we still have a need for deeper meaning in our life, and empowerment and connection. And I think a lot of us are redefining what that means. And we're lost more than ever, really. And I feel like connecting to nature and astrology and the moon, I feel like is really kind of coming up right now, especially with the internet. Like, you can share information so quickly right now, and then, like, if you want to know anything about transits or astrology, you can find it out on the internet so quickly. Like back in the day, you would have like maybe one astrologer in town and they were weird and they had one book and they would do your chart and like that was it. And then maybe you'd get the newspaper and you'd get your horoscope. That was it. Like now, like so much information about astrology is at our fingertips and we can really like escalate. We can really you know the word I'm looking for, go like this with the knowledge that we have. Same with TCM. I feel like, you know, even when I first graduated, you would have a couple people that like I had TCM crushes on, and like there was nothing like I could write them a letter, you know, maybe email them, maybe go visit their clinic, but you had no access to them. Like now you have direct access. They could teach an online course, you could watch an online CEU seminar, you know, you don't have to travel to go see them. You know, you could follow them on Instagram, like it's all right there and we get to build on what the generation before did, you know. And it's just an exciting time. It's an exciting time to practice this medicine. It's an exciting time to be alive. I think we spin it like all the negatives about technology, but like, let's spin the positives. This is exciting, you guys. And it's an exciting time to be of this age where we get to build it. We get to spin it. We get to do what we want to do with it, you know? And like, I want to be one of the people that decides what we do with it. I want to do something good with it. And that's why I'm here. Okay, so what is this? Astrology is a study of connection between celestial activity and earthly events, us. I always think this is interesting though, and I gotta say this, like I say this to my friends, like it's so egotistical that we study astrology from our perspective only. Like, does like no one ever like I know there's not well there may be life elsewhere, but do they ever say like Earth is in retrograde? Like everything is all according to our perspective, which I think is, you know, that's typical, but interesting. Okay, so there's two main types of astrology practice today, Western and Chinese. So we got Western astrology over here, which assigns zodiacs by months. Chinese astrology assigns zodiacs by year. We've got the Chinese New Year coming up. I believe it's February 5th. It's not on this calendar, but it's coming up. So yeah, Western astrology, we got, you know, the zodiac signs, and then Chinese astrology, we got all the animals by year. So that's kind of one of the defining features. Let's see. Is it do you guys know what year it's going to be? You guys want to say in the chat? It's the year. I just saw an email about it. Anyone know? Dragon. That's right. Ooh, wood. Okay. Do you guys know anything about Year of the Dragon besides wood element? Ooh, E. Is that good or bad? Yes, says Lauren. Depends what you are. Well, I'm good. I'm a good person. What animal I am? I'm a monkey. Anyone have anything to report? Oh, okay. It's good for monkeys. Thank God. Okay. Sun's journey through the constellations. Okay. Strength, burning in the fire. Oh, wow. You guys are like a wealth of information. Burning in the fire, being reborn, focusing on intention and manifesting. Beginnings, growth, rejuvenation, abundance, evolution. I have heard a lot of abundance this next year. I had a reading and she's like, dog conflict year. What does that mean? Dog fight? Dog health conflicts? What? Okay. Really? Dog? Yeah, I need to know more about that. It's a very powerful year. Unpredictability. Also powerful connections to dragon and earth grids. Bad for dog. Oh, okay. So it's bad if you're a dog, if you're the year of the dog, not actual dogs. The dragon is a very lucky symbol in Chinese astrology. I kind of got I always heard like tiger, like you want babies born the year of the tiger. Like that's, oh, sorry, you're having a baby this year. Sorry, Amber. I mean, I'm sure year of the dragon. I think dragon's good too, right? And people are grateful if their child is born a dragon. Okay. It's always shitty for dogs. It's a great opportunity for a dog. That, you know what, Glenn? That is an excellent spin. I like how you're spinning that. I'm behind on the chat here. That's okay. I'm just going to read these because these are actually really good. Dogs need to be on top of their health and proactive. I'm sorry that you're a dog. I would not like being a year of the dog or pig, honestly. Like those don't seem like a real powerful. I'm a rabbit, which was last year. Oh, dog is the best. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I mean, it doesn't sound like it's the best this year, but you know. Not bad, but dogs need to be on top of their health and proactive. Okay, let's read everything else, make sure I got through everything. But isn't like tiger, like that's like you want a tiger baby, right? There's tiger moms. That's a thing too. Is that like if you're a mom, you want a tiger or a dragon? Okay. Okay, good to know. Well, who is it that's having a dragon baby, you know? Yeah, Amber. Killing it. Good job. You're a tiger and you're giving birth this year in the year. Oh, I don't know how to say your name. Wait, Victoria. And your spelling of your name is super extra. Good job. That is like a tiger spelling. Wow. We should wear 3D roosters this year. I don't know what that means. Okay, cool. Oh, you guys are fun. This is a fun group. All 105 of you. I know a lot of you are like, you know, on the Peloton right now or something. That's okay. I've done it. It's okay. Emblems or necklaces. Dragon people are naturally gifted and lucky. Well, that's not fair. Because you don't, if you're lucky, you don't need to be gifted. Okay. 2024 is forecasted to bring about opportunities, changes, and challenges. If you're seeking a shift in your current lives, this year might offer a favorable chance. Okay. Thanks, Julie. We'll check back later. I want to know more about my love life, Julie, so maybe it's a yang year too. Okay. Whoa. Wrong way. Okay, you guys are too much. You're distracting me. You're too much fun. Too much coffee talk. Okay. All right. Let's keep talking. What's moonology? How are we doing in time? We're doing good. We're doing good. Okay. Study of the moon. So the moon has an effect on forces of nature, always have, always will. So awesome, right? And I feel like the most like underrated aspect of nature. Like we so take it for granted. Like we're just like, oh yeah, there it is. Hello, like a huge glowing ball in the sky, amazing, and affects all of us. Represents the emotional aspects of ourselves. This is key, all right? Emotional, feminine, right? And that is why emotions kind of come to a peak during the full moon. And I've seen this in my clinic, right? The crazies come out. And I've got some stories around that. When you start seeing, okay, two things. When you start seeing a high volume of patients and you're highly accessible and affordable, look out because, and it's a full moon, like all the barriers. I mean, it's good. I want to be accessible and affordable, and I want to see a lot of people. I want to be able to pay my bills, right? But like what, no one prepared me for what comes with that. And I had to learn a lot of skills, and I would definitely recommend if you're going to switch to a community style to really brush up on some skills. And part of that is saying no to some people that come in. And I just want to share this because it's important. So, and this is something I didn't know. The number one thing to look for when someone comes in to the clinic to turn them away is if a family member or multiple family members come in with them or walk in. I do walk-in appointments. Usually it's a walk-in appointment. A family member comes in with them. A family member fills out their paperwork. That is the biggest red flag right there, right? And one of my friends, she's a nurse. She was a psych nurse, and I had a couple times where that happened, and then it just went bad every time. And I was like, what do I do? Like, what's the sign that this person, it's gonna be a crazy person? You know, like I can't, what do you do? Like, what's the red flag? And she said, they need to be able to orient themselves to person, place, and time. So that means they need to know who they are, where they are, and what time it is before you will treat them, right? Because there's some people that like, maybe they had a stroke, they can't fill out their form, or maybe, you know, whatever. But there was people coming in that were high on drugs. There was people that were manic. There was people that I don't know what was going on, right? And there's a lack of mental health resources, especially after COVID. There's nowhere to take these people, you know, like you can't go to the ER. What are they going to do? You can't go to mental health. There's nowhere to go. And the poor family members, right? God bless them. Like they're scared. They don't know what to do. And they're like, Zenden, we'll take them there, right? That sounds good. And like it's a provider of like, let's just go take them to a medical professional that can see them now, you know? And I'm treating in a clinic with 8 other people, and a manic person shows up and they put their needles in, and all of a sudden they start screaming and they take all their needles out and start throwing them. All of a sudden I've put all my other patients at risk, right? Myself at risk. Like I'm an idiot and like I got to get them out of there. Like it's not good. So person, place, and time, right? Orient them to that. And I thought I was like totally ready to deal with whatever because I did my internship in Santa Monica, and like Venice Beach was right there, and we saw some woo, you know. Like I remember you'd be doing your intake, and like the exact point in time you'd be like, oh, this person's crazy, you know. Like you're like, okay, now I know what I'm working with, right? But no, nothing could prepare you for like that level of crazy. I was ill-equipped, not trained to deal with it, and it was not safe. So passing that along, little tidbit. And the other thing is you don't have to treat everybody. You don't have to heal the world. Like I had some complex, like I had to be like Teresa and like help everybody. I don't. Like you don't have to do that either. You can say like, I don't want to treat you, and you don't have to. Okay, I give you, here's permission. All right. Okay, history of the workings of the moon and the sun. Okay, the moon is yin, right? Sun, yang. The moon has been associated with magic and mysticism since the beginning of time. It's seen across various cultures and traditions. It's connected to intuition, change, fluidity, reflection of the feminine, and is related to element of water. The sun is more related to the rational and the left brain and the how. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm like more team moon. That sounds a lot more interesting. Okay, the moon and Chinese medicine. I'm sure you guys have all learned this at some point, but it's good to refresh. So, oh, no, this is new moon and full moon. Sorry. So new moon, this is cool. This is a very important slide. So new moon is when yin is switching to yang, okay? And that's very feminine. And that is when we're planting seeds and goals and making plans and dreams and hopes and wishes, okay? The full moon is yang, becomes yin. So we're switching, right? And that is masculine. And that is when energy is at its peak. And that is when you want to start letting stuff go, right? You want to forgive, you want to release, you want to rest, you want to restore, okay? So you want to think about it. I don't think of it as like static. I think of it as more of like the movement of it, right? Because the new moon is when yin is becoming yang. So we want to move from a yin state to a yang state. And with full moon, we want to move from yang state to yin state. Instead of like full is yang, new is yin. No, it's about that movement, right? And the support of that. And the points are going to support that. Okay. Origins of the moon. The moon goes around the Earth, and the Earth goes around the sun. Okay. The moon takes 30 days to go through all 12 signs of the zodiac, and it spends 2 days in each sign. Okay. The zodiac are all the sun signs. So like Sagittarius, Scorpio, those are the zodiac signs. Okay. There is one new moon and one full moon every 2 weeks. Okay. The moon rules emotions like home instincts, mothering instincts, our needs, boobs, nurturing, femininity, past, roots, safety. And this is important, the subconscious. Okay. So that's another thing. Our subconscious thoughts are going to come up to the surface with the full moon, right? And those things are also going to be things that we're going to want to release. So with this full moon, with the Leo, our subconscious beliefs that are blocking us from shining are what's going to come up to the surface. And those are things that the subconscious ones are the tricky ones, right? Those are not fun. Those are ones that we don't even know that we're walking around with, right? The conscious ones are the ones that are like, I consciously know I can't dunk. Like I'm 5'3". I thought I was going to be taller, so I picked basketball as a sport, and I consciously know like it's just not in the cards for me. It's the subconscious ones where it's like, I think like no one will marry me because I'm divorced and it'll just never happen for me. That's like a subconscious belief where if you asked me, I'd be like, yeah, someone will marry me again, you know, but subconsciously I could really believe that. And I could be creating situations, things, places, whatever that will block that from happening, especially around the full moon, right? Okay, so the moon is also very powerful. So if we want to inspire change in ourselves, in our lives, we have to work with that subconscious, okay? And the moon provides us an opportunity because it makes things kind of ripe for the picking and ripe for the changing, okay? Because it's going to bring those things up for us to like really take a look at them and shift them if we want to, right? I mean, choose your own adventure in life, right? You can evolve or you cannot. Not everybody wants to grow, and that's okay. Earl Nightingale, whatever we plant in our subconscious mind and nourish with repetition and emotion will one day become reality. And that's really what our work is if we want to evolve and grow. And I think that's important because it's repetition. You know, like you don't just switch and change your mind, right? So you can, but a lot of these times it's practice. It's like learning a new skill. It's learning a new way to think. And it's layers of these thoughts that we have to relearn. So, okay, let me have another drink. Dying here. Okay. Like I said, so we've got full moon is most yang. Energy is at its peak. The goal is to descend the yang and to ground, okay? I didn't mean to put the points on there, so cover them up, sorry. I meant to ask you, but maybe you have more points to offer, okay? So we're in a full moon. The energy is most yang, energy at its peak. What's our goal? Our goal is to descend the yang. So we want to anchor the yang and we want to ground, right? So we want to counterbalance that energy. So what points would you use, right? I have a couple that aren't listed there that I can think of, but why don't you guys put some in the chat that you can think of? So like kidney 1, that's what, bubbling spring. You can press on that. You can put an oil on that. That's a great one right there. Anchor the yang, bring the energy down, especially if people are manic or can't sleep. Those are great points. I'm going to pull the chat up and see what's going on. Liver 3, good. Your habits become your destiny. Wood points, liver channel, very good to root. That's great. Spleen 6. Awesome, Megan. Obviously, you were well trained at Emperors. Wink. Another spleen 6. Obviously, you went to Emperors. Kidney 3, kidney 6. Anmian. Who likes Anmian? You guys know what Anmian is? Lauren does. Megan does. She gives me this. Emperors. Hey. No, do 20. Nope. Okay. Don't do that. And I'll tell you why. Auricular acupuncture. CV1. Okay, so let me talk about do 20. You can do whatever you want, really. Like, I'm not here to tell you anything. But classically, traditionally speaking, they say not to needle the head during the full moon because energy is up. But like you said, you could needle it in a different direction with the intention of descending the yang. All right. Yeah. Season. Yeah. Well, I would stay off the head, right? Isn't that one on the head? Isn't it up here? Remind me of the location of that one. It is. I stay off the head completely, honestly. It's the crown. Yeah. I stay off the head completely because energy is completely up at the head. They're too much in their head. And there's so many awesome points to pick from. Another one that I like that I don't think you guys have mentioned yet. GB21, baby. Descends energy, right? It also promotes lactation, so be careful on that one. The best, right? Make sure you needle it, what is it? Obliquely that way, right? Don't go straight down on that. So that's a good one. Bring the chi down, right? What else you got? Ren 17, yep. It's a good one. Things that calm the shen, heart points are really good. Lung 3, Buddha's triangle, very good. Yeah, that's great. So yeah, you guys are getting the idea. You guys are smart. We got a lot of Emperor's people here, obviously. Highest pass rate. Do they still have the highest pass rate? Is that still a thing? Okay. Oh, I believe so. Okay, okay. No one else is saying anything. They're not. Okay. I'm like out of the school world. I'm happy to be. Okay. School is not my forte. Oh, there it is. Okay, so I did take the points off. That was clever. I like gave you the points and then I took them off. Brilliant. Okay. Here we go. Now we're playing the game. Okay, new moon. So that is the peak of yin, but we're moving to yang. So we want to tonify qi. We want to move some qi. We want to tonify yang. So what are you guys thinking? What do you got? Yes, now, yeah, pull that do 20. Let's just pull the trigger on that. Everybody's favorite. I know you've been waiting. Kidney 3, spleen 3. Yes. Buddhist triangle again. Yeah, you could. I mean, it wouldn't be my first choice. It would depend where the new moon was, honestly. What about, yeah, stomach 36. That's what I was going to say. Let's like Ren 6, Ren 4, Ren 17. Like build chi, build blood, right? Heart 7. PC6, lung, yeah, lung 9. Just think like this person is chi, blood, yang deficient. Maybe kidney 6. Yeah. For someone who has, oh, okay. I got it. I got you. Yeah. Moxa. Yeah. I like that. Light it up. Yeah. I just bought these like, I might be slow to the game. I don't do a ton of Moxa, but one of my patients said they have these like adhesive Moxa patches. You don't light them, but it's like a patch. I don't know. It's different. It's not the like what are those? The sun patches that like warm up. It's like a packet. Anyway, it's pretty cool. Ren 6, yes. Kidney 7, lung 9. Moxa cream, that seems dangerous. Kidney 9. My daughter once, have you guys heard of what's that blue, deep blue, right? That like doTERRA stuff. It's kind of like Moxa cream. The other day, not the other day, she was like 5. She was in the other room. She's like, ah, screaming. And I run in there. I'm like, what's going on? She put it on her face, like all over her face. She's crying. I'm like, what is wrong? It's like peppermint, like extreme. I don't know what it was like, biofreeze or something. I'm like, what is wrong with you? She's like, I thought it would make me wake up. I'm like, well, are you awake now, psycho? Spleen 10 to move chi and blood. That's an interesting idea. Yeah, move it. I think the first goal would be to tonify, but it is forward motion. We're starting to move into that. So yeah, tonify and move it. What about the kidney 8, like build blood, kidney 9, go into that area. I like to do that. Cool, guys. It's fun. See, it's fun to think of points in this way. Liver 8. Yes, that's a good one. I think I was thinking of that when I said kidney 8. But we've got that Emperor's brain connection. She loves liver 8. I love that about you, Lauren. Okay. Hopefully this matches up here. Oh, wait. Okay, wrong slide. Oh, I didn't even put the answers. Okay. Well, we came up with the answers. You guys did great.